Good morning. How are you? We've been in our homes for a little while now, haven't we? Some of us are still in the first responders and the essentials. So thank you to all of you that are in that first responder and essentials workforce. We know this is a strain for all of us, and we recognize that this is a very different time for all of us, with many fears, with many opportunities. And that's what we're here to celebrate today, as we're talking about business as unusual. I'm Ingrid Pica. I'm very delighted that you're joining me here on Facebook Live, because today's episode, we're talking about time management. You may be asking, now wait a minute, I've got all the time in the world, and we're seeing people that are cleaning out their entire closets and their houses and making huge progress. We've got jigsaw puzzles that are in great order and putting together family time. That's awesome. Today, I'm talking about that business as unusual. We see some businesses that are taking opportunities and growing with this, and that's okay. We have a lot of ethical considerations occurring now. It doesn't mean that we have to shut down our opportunities and grow. So today, I want to talk about time management as it pertains to our businesses and the potentials that we still have. Are you guys all in on that? I'm excited. So let's talk a little about what's going on in the first place here. What's happening? We know we have a global pandemic with the coronavirus and COVID-19. We know that that's a fearful thing, and that there's reason and purpose for what many of us happening. Some are debating that, but we know in general the hospitals are full, people are dying. This is a scary situation. We've got that pandemic. And with that, the secondary changing economy that we're dealing with. What's impacted here? We've seen major changes in the stock exchange. The House and Senate, they're all working on different bills to help support the communities and the businesses in the United States. And the same thing's going on globally throughout the rest of the world as well. We've got some huge revenue losses. Look at the restaurant industry. Consider some of these other airline and travel industries of the massive losses. And on the flip side, we also have some immense opportunities that are happening now. We've got Amazon that's hiring thousands and thousands of people. Again, I know there's a lot of structure and reality of how to put it together. There is opportunity. I'm seeing online courses, just much like what we're doing here with Business as Unusual. We're seeing a lot of opportunities developing. And that's what this is about, is to seeing what still is possible and how can we still support each other and grow within ourselves. There's a lot of disruption in our business flow, right? We don't even know how to go grocery shopping anymore. We can't do our networking. How do we handle if we're wanting to do closings of homes or even looking at a house? It's a very different manner that we're going with. As a veterinarian, I'm still seeing cases. I do relief work on the side. And right now, with respect to the pandemic that's occurring and the essential workers and the veterinary world, even though we're only seeing essential and emergency and urgent cases, I'm helping out in some of the local hospitals. And I'm telling you, we are busier than usual. And it's a big change when we're having clients that are waiting in the parking lot in their cars, and we have to go in and out, and we're wearing our masks, and the animals are scared. There is a difference, but there's still that humanity involved. And what's the difference with the social distancing, right? When I've got someone that's working in a very emotional state, the first thing I personally want to do is give them that great big hug, and I can't. And as we're quarantined in our homes, we can't do that. We're relying on something like this, the digital format, to reach out to each other and to say hello. And you know what? That's okay. We can still do that. We can use video lives, whether you're using Skype or WhatsApp or Facebook Live, and saying hello. I got to be invited to a family gaming online where we were all on a Zoom call and we could see each other, and there was an online game that we were playing, and it allowed us to still have some of that interaction. So there are a lot of changes going on, and what is the result that we're seeing? There are already many studies, and the studies that were done in the past with SARS, where we're looking at, first of all, there's a loss of routine. There's a grieving process going through, wow, what happened? Normally we get up first thing in the morning, we get ready and we take our showers and feed the dog and take the kids to daycare, and then we go to work and then come back X number of hours to finish up getting your errands done or dinner, watch a little TV, scroll a little through your Facebook, reach out to some friends, and go to bed. The next day we start it all over again until the weekend, and then we've got our own routines for the weekend. That's all changed. And how does time management fit with all of that? We've got inadequate supplies happening right now. You go to the grocery stores and they're just beginning to catch up with a massive of the toilet paper, right? And then it's the hand sanitizer. And then now jigsaw puzzles are on short supply. The supplies are what's happening. We look at the healthcare providers and the loss of masks and ability to have hospital beds. That's a frightening time. We're looking at financial stressors as thousands, hundreds of thousands of individuals are on furlough and applying for unemployment. And we've got the health concerns to ourselves as well, right? Health and wellness, not only with respect to the virus, but also as we're stuck in our homes. We're not going through our gyms. We're not following up with that. And we're kind of getting out of shape because we're munching all the time. And then we have the fear of the future. What's happening? When will we return to this normalcy? First, we're looking at Easter. Now we're looking at April. We know it's going to take us months to go into any kind of norm. And what is that norm, that new norm going to look like at that point? We already know there will be differences in our cultures. How acceptable will the standard handshake be, or the hugs? Dancing. How is that going to change? And that all is creating some fears within us. But we have to overcome this. We get to thrive. We get to really, truly thrive. And that's what it's all about. We're striving to thrive. And I'm wanting to pull in Linda Ray here, a good friend, who she talks about thriving and with the vision boards and just the mindset. And that is what this is about. We have an opportunity to thrive where we are now, despite all of the grief that we are going through. It's a realistic grief, and we understand that. What time is now, we get to prepare, because we have this time where we get to really focus on ourselves. I go back to the beginning of the year, 2020, right? We were thinking 2020, yay, we got great sights, and wow, that turned into a little different. Let's talk about my word at that point. I had a New Year's resolution to myself, which actually began back in December. But the word that I live by, or still live by, is intentional. Everything that I'm doing is intentional, thought through, so that I know I can still stay on track. And that feeds so much into now, where we really get to manage our now so that we can have our tomorrow. I've several years now, I have done a survey, the Time survey, where I asked the 3 questions to the people that were interested. And if you'd like to, just contact me. I'd love to include you. It was what TEDx was built on. And it was about what people feel about time, how they value time. And it really crux it down to essentially choice, value, and belief. And those same components are what we're going to do today, because we're going to talk about time management right now and how you can still maintain that and build your future and develop more community and opportunity. Whether you're self-employed, whether you're unemployed right now, or whether you're on furlough, or whether you are going, we're still facing those same choices of time. What do we do with our time right now? How much of this are we sitting and flicking through with our phones? I find myself doing that as well. And I'm getting caught up in this web of social media that is designed to suck our attention into there. We need to focus. So, I've got 5 points on how to help build your time management. And then after, we'll put together a true scheduling map for you that you can take and implement now and into the future. You in still? Cool. So the first thing is that we have to recognize, and I mentioned it earlier, thriving and the mindset, is you've got to support you. That's the first primary component. When you're supporting you, this is talking about the wellness, the exercise, the insight, the mindset. So we know how important it is when we get to Move and get up off of the couch. Exercise stimulates the brain. It brings oxygen to not only our brain, it also our muscles and our heart. So exercise. There are many opportunities online now where we've got trainers that are sharing of what you can do. Something like a simple yoga pose. Or I've started even when I'm brushing my teeth, I'm marching in place during my 2-minute brushing so that I get that moving. Walk around the block if you're able to. Do your sit-ups, do get-ups, just everything that's available to you. Take advantage of exercising. And nutrition. We know that nutrition builds the body, it builds the brain. So take care of yourself. Despite some of the challenges that we may have with groceries, make sure that you're taking care of your exercising, your nutrition, your mind, body, and soul. Number 2, we want to mention, I've said before, the intentional. Get that intentional mindset. This is what your plan is. This is what your goal is. You know that you want to see that result. You actually want to feel the purpose of where you're going. And believe it, when you're saying your gratitudes and you can actually hear them. I know there's someone that puts on a 9 p.m. gratitude check every night for the last several weeks. It's a wonderful reminder to us. You've got to have the mindset in order to drive yourself forward. There's an amazing graduation speech from the Navy SEAL Admiral about the first thing to do in the morning is make your bed. And you know how easy that is? Just make your bed, make it look right. For one, when you go back at night, like you said, you're going to have a nice and tidy place to go to. But also, it gets you started into a habit, into getting things going. There's a habit that I have. When in the morning, I get my little chai warmed up, make my little butter toast and jam, and then in addition to that, I get my little journal and I journal. What are my gratitudes? What am I happy about? What are my thoughts? And what are my get statements? Yes, Gary Barnes, I still do that too. Get yourself in a morning habit. And we'll talk in a little bit about what are the things you can include in that morning and evening habits to help build consistency to you for an intentional future. Number 3, plan. We were talking about the morning routine. Part of that morning routine is to establish what is your plan for the rest of the day. So review it. When you have it in a written form, you can review and get little boxes. Oh yes, I'm going to time this there and there. We'll talk a little more in that in a moment about how to outline your day. So plan and what makes sense to you. What is it you can do today or in the week and in the month? What are things that you can do? And let's say that take that sense of reality. What will you do? What do you have that intention for that the passion is strong enough? The inside, it's got to come from inside. And then what will you do? And who will you do it with? We can't do this by ourselves. We have to have a tribe. And that's what's the beauty of what we're seeing with the social media as those tribes are growing to huge numbers. Beanie Man, I've mentioned her before. We've got Beyond the Fear. She's now got 1,500 plus followers in this group, and it's all about positivity. We need to have someone to work with. And then going back to the marketing that I've spoken to in another episode of Business as Unusual, developing who are you involving and who are you maybe doing whatever your intention for. If you're doing a marketing piece, or if you're establishing what your product is, or if you're writing a book, be more intentional in your plan and commit with that. Truly commit. This is what your intention is. This is what your plan is. So we've talked about supporting you in mind, body, spirit. We talked about developing an intentional mindset and then creating a plan, which we'll talk a little more on how to do that in a moment. Number 4 is the action. This is where you totally put everything into place. That involvement of your component is the implementation of what you've already outlined. You want to set alarms, right? I have several alarms on my phone, not just getting up in the morning. I also have reminders to me when I was getting started with my journal. I would get totally sidetracked and finish up the laundry or suddenly realize I was behind and then I'd forget it. So I have an alarm on my phone to start with to do my journal. I also have an alarm to go to bed. There are alarms, multiple ones you can set, and it's just a little trigger in your mind. Oh yes, this is my time to shift to the next action or mindset. Let's see. Oh yeah, I want to talk about setting timers for yourself. Now these don't have to be real timers of alarms that we were referring to. Let's talk quickly about the different blocks of time in the schedule that we'll go through that more in the future as well. When we have our schedule and we start putting it together, we have two components to consider. You have your fixed and your flexible blocks of time, and you also have your timely and transferable blocks of time. Well, what does that mean? Okay, let's start with the fixed and flexible. In an example of, that you have an appointment that will last 1 hour. For example, if you have a scheduled appointment with a client and the normal session is 45 minutes, that is a fixed 45 minutes. And that session time, whether you're going to a workout session or legal fees, or they're set on those specific session times. You also have the flexible time slot, which could expand and contract depending on how things are going. For example, if you want to go to the store, that might take you 15 minutes, or it may take you about 30 minutes, depending on how crowded it is, or how much you still need to go shopping, or how organized you are before you go into the store. So you have the variation of, do you have a fixed block of time that is set specifically for a certain number of minutes or hours or days? Usually that would be a little harder to do. And you also have the flexible days or flexible time that allows to adapt to what the need of the actual task is. So then we also have the timely and the transferable times. In this instance, if you have an appointment scheduled, for example, again with a client, or you have a webinar that you're experiencing that you want to take a part of and you're registering, and that start time is 11 o'clock on Tuesday morning, that is a timely appointment. You cannot change that. On the other hand, there may be some that are not as timely as some others. For example, if you're setting aside time to work on a proposal, that could be transferable if an emergency comes up. Let's say you're planned on at 1 o'clock, you were going to work on a proposal for your allotted fixed 1 hour. And then at 12:35 or 12:45, you have a client calling that has an urgent issue that needs to be addressed. Well, in that case, you actually can shift that time that you were going to work on the proposal, as long as it's not impacting your deadline, and shift it to, I could do that at 3 o'clock and still have it done by the 5 o'clock time that I needed. So that's the difference between when you have your timely appointment that needs to be at a specific moment versus a transferable task that you can shift back and forth and reallocate a different time. So those are the things that when you're creating your schedule, recognize and truly identify, and it also makes you be a little more cognizant. Yeah, you know what? I have to spend 1 hour writing today. And that 1 hour is fixed. I cannot let that change, because that's where I have to get my energy and my efforts into. So now you can be more intentional on how you're blocking your times off with your fixed and your flexible versus your timely and your transferable. If that doesn't make sense, just give me a call. I'm happy to explain it more with your specific needs. So we were talking about the action, and we'd set the alarms, and we had just defined a little bit of how to map your time. And we also want to make sure that you're accountable and that you do follow through with this. So this is where many people have their accountability partners. This is where people will have check-ins. And so think about like Alcoholics Anonymous, right? They meet every day, or they have an accountability person that they have, their buddy that they connect with and say, this is how my day was. This is how it works. For any of you that are interested in having an accountability component, I have a program available. So just reach out to me directly and I'll help you with that, because I want to make sure what you start and what you intend on going through with, you can follow through with that at all times. Does that sound good? So make yourself accountable. Oftentimes it's a matter of setting those alarms and telling someone this has to be done by a certain time. Just like when we're in school, when we have these tasks that we have to get done, this works just the same way. And get that mindset and your passion. I've got to get it done at this time. And then also remember, when you're having these check marks and so forth, create yourself those measurable goals so that you know what you're supposed to do and what it looks like, what it means to have it done. That way you can celebrate. We'll talk about that in a moment. Okay, so we talked about supporting you, we talked about the intentional mindset, we talked about the plans, we talked about action, and now we're going to talk about the review and preview. I had alluded a little bit to it beforehand as well. As we mentioned in the mornings, as you're reviewing and seeing what you're going to do for the day, laying it, planning it out, it's critical that you compartmentalize what are you planning on doing, when and how, what's reality for you in the very beginning of the day, and also in the beginning of the week when you're overviewing the entire week. As you are able to look through this, you now start creating a little gear shift in your mind saying, this is going to work. Oh, wait a minute, there's no way that I'm going to get all of this done at the same time. So really create that. Again, set those alarms for yourself to realize I'm working on a writing component or a marketing strategy or a client or just relaxing. And we'll talk just a moment, a little bit more about different things to allocate. But I know I've allocated this much time, and recognize, okay, in the morning, I'm going to set an alarm for this, that I know I need to move to the next step, or that I'm falling behind, or those. So it keeps you on track, and you can prepare. The more prepared we are, the far better we go for the whole day. The night, in the evenings, review what you've accomplished in the day. What worked? What didn't work? How are you going to adjust that for the future? So really set yourself in and create that plan when you're reviewing from the previous and you're preparing for the upcoming, the day, even the hour. You may want to coordinate what's your morning going to look like and then break it in at lunchtime. Review the morning. What are you going to do in the afternoon to readjust for what you were able to accomplish and what you're not able to accomplish in reality? Where do you need help? Can you reach out to someone to do something for you? Those are all parts of time management, because you can't control the 24 hours in a day, right? We all have that same 24 hours. The amount of time you have is the exact same amount of time as that phone or computer or laptop or whatever device you're viewing this on. That little thing has the exact same amount of time as you do. It's pretty crazy, huh? You have the same time as I do. I have the same time as my neighbor does and my coworker does. Everyone has 24 hours. It's about how we're going to allocate those moments. So we talked about review and preview, review, plan, celebrate. You've got to celebrate your successes. And no matter how small it is, celebrate. I love when I'm making my task list. I put little boxes before every single task to do. And I have tasks for the day. I have tasks for the morning and the afternoon. I have tasks for the week. I have tasks for the month. So that way I can watch what my progress is, and hey, I got it done. And oh, that feeling of accomplishment. Again, scientifically proven, being able to either cross it through or mark off the boxes is a brain wave that succeeds and makes us feel better. That's what we want. We want to feel better. So use your written calendars, your written schedulers, and have that opportunity to cross it off. If you're using a digital version of a calendar or a task list, that still, it qualifies for the same appointment or same accomplishment. Click delete. You get to do that. Okay? So celebrate. Okay, I wanted to briefly talk to you. I know this is going a little bit longer, but time management is so important that we have to get the crux. We understand what's going on at this point in time and how it's impacting us. We've talked about what the 5 components are in creating a sound time management for you. And now I'm going to talk about the 5 or 6 pieces that I use in allocating where my time goes. Now, this may vary a little bit depending on what you are doing, and I welcome you and I invite you to change these to fit your categories in your day. So we're going to start with, when I've done this is how I do my business, and this is how I allocate my times. When I put the blocks in, now it'll easily allow me to categorize them in the different components. I will rotate them every day, and I actually use this in my journaling, but let me talk to you what they're about first. So the first one that I use, again, and this is right now, I'm just randomly using the order, is administrative. For me, administrative means getting everything as my scheduling, my invoicing, assuring that my accounts are in the right place, recognizing that I've got to have, if I'm having emails, if I'm having things that need to be placed in an administrative role and reviews, that is, for me, the administrative side of things. The second one that I use is revenue. In revenue, that is the actual part of where I am getting funds or cash or financials for the services that I am providing. So it may be working with a client about a book. It may be working with a company and training their personnel. It's the way that I am making the cash to put into my accounts so I can work on the administrative part of putting it together. Okay. Also, I have what I call business development. In business development, this is where I place my networking, my reaching out, my staying visible in front of the community. The business development may be a way to connect with individuals. It may be a way to at least have a conversation with you. It may be a way to just say, and giving, something like this. This is all called business development, and everyone will have different pieces that fly in there. The next thing that we include is if we're looking at content. Content here for me is when I'm writing my book, when I'm creating an informational article, as I'm doing my blogging, as I'm creating my marketing materials. This is what I call content. In your case, it may be that you're writing the book itself and that you're doing the marketing for the book. Content is anything that you're creating from a mind's perspective that is going to be able to be contributed to your audience and to your readers. Then here comes the funner part. We've got the free time. The free time, and I'm going to include the next one in the same moment. The free time is where anything else goes that doesn't fit into any here. It could be, this is just plain family time. This is just downtime. This is the time that I'm going to use to span through my social media. This is the time where I'm going to go jog a little bit or play games or just work in the garden, do laundry, do my other chores. That's kind of a free time. It doesn't really matter what's in there. I do separate out free time though, because we have to recognize if I don't take care of me, I can't take care of anything else. So be sure to allocate specific time to help rejuvenate you. This is going to be a time where I'm going to isolate myself in the house and I'm going to read, or this is my workout time, or some people like to just journal and write, some people like to dance, there's anything that is considered me time. Even if it's saying me time, this is where I get to ignore everything else and spend time with my family because that's what I need to rejuvenate. Anything. So it's kind of nebulous as to which occurs between free time and me time, but I just want to encourage you to take a moment and say, what do I want? What do I need? What am I going to do to rejuvenate and make myself a little bit happy and stronger physically, emotionally, nutritionally, any of that to regain? So as you put these 6 pieces together, take a moment and write down everything you do in one day or everything that you do for your business that you can then label which of these does it go into. It changes again for me, as I was mentioning. Some days it will be revenue all day. So I put that first in my journaling because I have a mindset, okay, today is a revenue day. Other times I know that today I'm going to be doing administrative. Today is when I get to do the accounting and send it over to my accountant so that they know what's going on there, or my invoicing. Today is business development. I know I've got some networking events that I'm going to be working on, or I'm going to be sharing something, or I'm speaking, or any of those things. So that in your mindset, you already know what you're preparing for the day. So kind of all in one, as you identify these pieces and put them all together, and I have a form that allows you to help sort this. If you would like that, just comment below or instant message me and I'll give you a PDF. No worries. I want you to use this and start time mapping your life. So as we go into this change in our world and we recognize that things are different, right now you have so much available for opportunities. If you're bored and you've always wanted to write a book, this is the time you can do this. If you don't like writing, just speak it. And there are so many applications that will turn it into a written form for you. This is when you get to do that. If you've got an idea going, gosh, I have this brilliant business idea. This is the moment when you have extra time. If you're not out working on the forces, you get to create that business plan on how you're going to move forward. Time management is about recognizing opportunities you have now so that you can invest your energy, your efforts, and your passion to build you forward to the world that you want to see. I'm Ingrid Pica. Thank you so much for joining me. I'd love your comments down below. Please share this video for anyone to maybe take advantage of some of the other lessons that we've had in here and apply time management, which I prefer to call as time mapping, to build forward. Wishing you all the very best. Love connecting with you. And remember, it doesn't matter if the glass is half full or half empty. Just drink what you've got and enjoy.